I was cleaning out my garage when my neighbor stormed in, pointed at me, and yelled, "Murderer!" For a moment, I thought he had the wrong house, or maybe I'd accidentally stepped on one of his many plants. But then he shouted again, "You killed her! You killed Mittens!" Ah, the cat. Mittens had gone missing 3 days earlier, and ever since then, my neighbor, Mr. Gray, had been circling the neighborhood throwing accusations everywhere. I'd heard him muttering my name to other neighbors. I'd seen him looking over the fence into my yard like he expected to catch me burying evidence in the flower bed, but this was the first time he'd confronted me directly. "She's not in the garage," I said. "I haven't touched your cat." "Oh, really?" He marched farther inside, ignoring the fact that I hadn't invited him. "Then explain that." He pointed dramatically at a large cardboard box sitting near my workbench. Inside the box was a small pile of old blankets, some tools, and a tuft of gray and white fur. I sighed. "That's from an old winter coat. I said this yesterday. That's exactly what a murderer would say." And that was how my peaceful Saturday garage cleaning project turned into a full-scale neighborhood inquisition. Apparently someone had heard a cat-like noise coming from my garage the previous night, and since I had been reorganizing things on and off all week, Gray decided that this was the perfect time to stage his dramatic accusation. If the neighborhood believed him, I could become the guy who did something to the beloved community cat. My reputation was at risk. "Look, I didn't hurt Mittens," I said. "I don't even like stepping on ants." "You're a giant," he snapped. "You step on everything by accident." I couldn't argue with that, but still, I never hurt anything intentionally. "Wait," Gray said suddenly, squinting at something behind me. "What's that?" He pointed at a small metal cage I'd set near the wall. It was a humane trap for the raccoon that had been raiding my garbage cans every night. "It's for the raccoon," I explained. "I haven't caught anything yet." "Aha!" He rushed over, brushed aside leaves, and triumphantly held up a single gray hair stuck in the wire. "Evidence. That's from the raccoon," I said. "That's exactly what a murderer would say." "Yes, I know." He wasn't listening. He was scanning the garage with the intensity of a detective in a crime show. Behind us, my other neighbor, Mrs. Walden, peeked in. "Is everything all right?" I heard shouting. She saw Gray waving a cage around and me looking exhausted. "Oh my, did you trap his cat?" "No," I cried. "He murdered her," Gray said. "Murdered is a bit strong," I began, but the damage was done. Mrs. Walden gasped. "You monster!" "Fantastic." I looked up and saw that a small crowd had formed at the end of my driveway. They murmured, watching me like I was being led out in handcuffs. "I didn't do anything!" I shouted at them. "He's disposing of the evidence," Gray countered, pointing at the garbage bags I'd been loading into my truck. "It's old paint cans and broken Christmas lights." Exactly the kind of thing someone would use to hide a body. I finally slammed my broom onto the floor. "All right, everyone stop. I did not hurt Mittens," I said, breathing hard. "But clearly I'm not getting any peace until we search this garage together." Gray narrowed his eyes, but nodded. "Fine, we search." We began looking through every corner. Boxes were opened. Shelves were inspected. A few people pointed at random objects, an old ski boot, a half-deflated basketball, a crumpled tarp, and asked if they were cat-related. Just when I thought things couldn't get more ridiculous, we heard a faint noise, a meow. Everyone froze. "That came from over there," Mrs. Walden whispered, pointing toward a tall cabinet near the back wall. Gray glared at me like he had finally heard the ghostly confession he'd been waiting for. "Open it," he said. My hands shook as I reached for the handle. Not because I was guilty, but because if that cabinet contained anything remotely cat-shaped, I'd never hear the end of it. I opened the door slowly. Inside was an avalanche of sports equipment, old board games, a broken lamp, and one shoebox with tiny claw marks on the lid. The crowd inhaled dramatically. I lifted the lid. Out popped a squirrel. A very alive squirrel. It leapt onto my shoulder, chattered in outrage, and then launched itself out the open garage door. The crowd screamed. Mrs. Walden nearly fainted. Gray staggered back, hand on his chest. And from outside, clear as day, we heard another meow. Everyone rushed out. There, sitting calmly on top of Gray's own car, was Mittens, stretching, yawning, and looking bored of the whole scene. Gray apologized, the neighbors drifted away, and Mittens demanded treats. I locked my garage and decided cleaning could wait forever.